Extraordinarily Loud Fan Productions presents. We've seen this before, this particular server rack. Our focus today is going to be on this, which is a new addition. This is actually, and you won't even be able to see it because it doesn't have the PS2 on it, but this is a Proxmox virtualization host that I added. And I just didn't realize how quickly that was going to fill up. Here's a shot of the web admin console, and you can see, look at that. Now, I don't know why it created only a 4.5 gigabyte swap partition. That probably could have been adjusted and fixed, but still, I think it's high time that we augment this with something else. The simple fact of the matter of this as well is that my intention for this was purely to operate the security camera related equipment and nothing else, because really it's got 2 Ethernet adapters on it, so I can have a private network for those, and then this can run basically everything else, which was, like I said, that was what the intention was, but obviously that's not how it turned out, because my other two are full as well, and my hope is that this new one that I create out of that is going to allow me to free up some space on these as well. But I suppose we'll find out. So, what we have here is a Dell Precision T5400 dual Xeon system. Tried to remove the sticker here on the front and wasn't totally successful, but you know, it's a start, I guess. I could go at this with Gugon or something, but I don't really feel like it right now. Typical Dell Precision. Not much really to see here on the back. Single gigabit Ethernet. I hope it's gigabit anyway. I don't actually know. I guess I'll find out. 2 serial parallel PS2. 5 USB for some reason. And of course, it's got audio. There's the video card. I don't think it's anything particularly special. Nice. Didn't see that coming. The thing must be on there with some ridiculous spring tension, but anyway. So here's what we've got going on in here right now. No drives. Those have all been pulled. You can see there, I've actually installed 2 5.25 to 3.5 inch bay adapters. I'm going to use that for expansion purposes later on, not for the time being, because for the time being, I think having the 2 drives should be enough. Because I'm not going to do like what I did with the other one and use a small capacity drive for booting and then a small capacity drive. Well, 500 gigs, I guess, isn't really that small, but I'll put a 1 terabyte in there. Fully loaded with memory. Should be 32 gigabytes total. I'm hoping that all the RAM is good, because I've had some issues with that. And these were spec'd as single processor machines, but as you can see, I've put the second one in there. I don't remember what CPU they actually have in them, though. So, anyway, there's a floppy cable there. There's no floppy drive in this. I've pulled that out. This video card, like I said, it's probably just some random piece of crap. I'm only using it because it doesn't have this stupid DMS59 connector on the back. Suppose we could find out what it is when we power it up. There's 2 PCIe slots up there. PCIe. Is that actually X16? Are there 2 X16 slots in this? It looks like there must be, unless that's only an X8. I can't actually tell. Slot 2 is what? Yeah, that's what the video card's plugged into, so I hope that that's an X16. Not that it really matters, because I know that it works. So, there's a look at the board. No blown capacitors or anything stupid like that. At least not insofar as I can tell. You don't need a voltage regulator module to run the second CPU, which is good. A lot of these require a voltage regulator, and that can be a pain. But I gotta get these drives hooked up, so Let me go ahead and we'll go do that. So here's what's going to go in there. I have this 250 gig here, nothing special. That's going to be used for the boot and also for storing ISO images. Because again, I found that 40 gigs was not good enough. And I don't want to put an 80 in there because that's also close to 40. I have a bunch of these 250s laying around, we might as well use that. And then this 1 terabyte is going to be used for the storage of the actual virtual machines itself. And maybe some containers if I choose to experiment with containers, but I haven't had a whole lot of luck with containerized software on Proxmox VE yet, so. Alright, here you can see the drives there. Pay no mind to the ice maker, making ice. But they're installed. These are actually labeled, and they're labeled correctly. At least I hope they're labeled correctly. But now I gotta put the cover on, find a monitor, keyboard, and mouse, and enough cables to actually do this. And then we'll fire this up, make sure it works, install the operating system, and get on our merry way. Okay, here we go. Keyboard, monitor, don't need a mouse. Not for what I'm doing anyway. And last but not least is the power connection, which this is going to be fun to plug in. Okay. Let's see, let's go into setup here on this thing. Oh, I think the battery's dead. Yeah. I just saw a battery indication, so here we go. Probably an updated BIOS, but I don't really care. Both CPUs are there, E5430s. Both of them are quad-core, no hyper-threading. But that would give me 8 cores altogether, about the same as the other machine has. It's only 16 gigabytes of memory. Huh. I thought that it was 32, but oh well. 16 hopefully will be enough. I don't know. But anyway. VGA. Yeah, the date and time is wrong, so I'm going to have to set this BIOS up the way that I want it to be set up. Here's an interesting little quirk that I just noticed. Look at this. Onboard SATA hard drive, not present, but yet there's 2 serial ATA hard drives there. So, I don't know what's up with that, but whatever. Okay. Oh, yeah, that key on the keyboard doesn't work. So, it turned off, it should turn back on, because I enabled a couple things like virtualization and stuff that a VM host will need. If it'll post. Here it comes. So let's see what kind of error messages we got. Did not get error messages. It does see a USB device. Let's see if that'll actually boot. Oops. I thought this had a hard drive fan in it, so I enabled it, but it doesn't. So I'll have to go in and disable that. F1 to continue. Okay, grub is loading. There we go. Proxmox VE. Let's go the console route because I have only a keyboard. And hopefully that's not a serial console because that'll be a real problem. Alright, I assure you I read that very carefully. There's our target disk, 250 gig, yes. Notice it's doing this. I don't know why it's doing that. This is not our time zone. That is. That should be good. Now I'll go ahead and I'll put in the root password. Okay, so now we're doing what we need to do. Running the install, or at least it was running the install. Now the disk is not doing anything, so I don't know what's up with that. Hopefully it didn't lock up. Yeah, I would say we have a problem here. Wow. Wonder what's up with that. Well, that was weird. Hope this thing's gonna be reliable. But I suspect it won't be. Let's see, what do we got here? Let's try our USB device again. What a piece of garbage. I don't care, I'm just gonna keep on going. This is a pain in the butt. I'm not dealing with that right now, so. We'll try the graphical now that I got a mouse plugged in. Not that I think that mouse works. Well, we got past the creating partitions portion of setup this time. It hasn't totally deadlocked. So I don't know what's up with the memory in this machine, because all that RAM tests good. I can put both banks of 4 modules. I can put it in there on its own, and it'll run through memtest, and it'll last all night, and it'll be fine. But maybe there's something wrong with some of the memory slots in this machine. Wouldn't surprise me. Might just be dirty contacts. Okay, so auto reboot. It is still posting. Should boot into Proxmox. It's still posting. I have to go into setup and do something about that hard drive fan error, and probably put a new battery in this. So we'll let it start. And we should be able to do the rest of the configuration on this thing through the web console. Obviously, of course, except for the fact that I need to go into setup and make some changes. And figure out why my memory is not working. This is what happens when you run this with the side cover off. Okay, that's better. Now that you put the side cover back on, it's not complaining about the thermal situation. I forgot that these older systems do that. But, I swapped DIMM 1 and 2 around, cleaned the contacts on the memory. But I swapped the 2 memory modules around, and look at this. We've now got 32 gigabytes of memory. So I thought this had 32 gigs in it. And it turns out I'm right. So, the rest of this can be configured from the web console, which is exactly what we're going to do. So I'll be right back, thanks to the magic of video editing. Okay, now for the software side of things. You can see here I've brought up the web administration console. Just right here. This is the default look that you've got. Come over here. We can see everything's okay. We have our 32 gigabytes of memory. This is the space. I don't remember exactly what this corresponds to, but I'm wondering if maybe it corresponds to, like, the boot drive, for example, or if maybe it's this. I don't know. Yeah, it's not this, obviously. It has to be from the volume group there. But anyway, so we come to this, and we're going to make some modifications to what we've got. Network is good. Don't have to touch that. That's all good. We don't have to touch that. I'm not going to play with that. Syslog is fine. I don't need to touch that. Updates. The repositories will need to be adjusted here. So if we can see here, we have the enterprise repositories in place, and we do not want the enterprise repositories. You can see here it's got valid subscription. Technically, you're supposed to have a subscription, so we're going to say no. I'm going to add another repository here. the Ceph repository. I'm not going to be using Ceph, but we'll put it on here anyway. And then these enterprise repositories. So this one, I'm going to disable it, and same thing with that. So it gives us this warning at the top about how it's not recommended for production use. I don't really care. We'll go ahead and we'll refresh it. It'll tell us again. Again, I don't really care. We'll download all these updates, or at least check for all these updates. Shouldn't be too slow on that. Okay. And you can see we got 1,000 updates to install. So we might as well just go ahead and do that, which will open up a console here. This is basically just like interacting with a regular terminal window, which is one of the things I like about this particular environment. And we'll let it do its thing. Okay, so that took about 7 minutes, which really it shouldn't have. It was made longer by the fact that Linux, in its infinite wisdom, likes to rebuild the init ramfs about 8 times during an install. So this can be closed. We'll just leave it. We don't need to worry about it. We'll hit refresh. It'll warn us again about not having a subscription. There should be no updates left. Ideally, what you would do at this point is reboot. I'm not going to, because when I reboot, it's going to sit at the BIOS because the battery's dead. And I don't really want to deal with that. So, no firewall. Disks. You can see here we've got 2 disks. This is our second drive, the 1 terabyte, which I'm going to initialize. So we might as well initialize it with GPT, although MBR is not even an option on this. Now what you do next depends on your needs. I have found that the easiest way to work with this is to go to what's called the directory option down here. We'll create a directory, SDB, ext4, because I might be expanding this later, we'll call it VMs1. We'll go ahead and we'll create that. We'll just take a look at the details. So, when we do that, there's our disk. And it has now showed up over here. None of the rest of this we really need to touch because we're not using Ceph. We're not using any of this stuff. If you wanted to have a subscription, you could go ahead and put your subscription in there. I don't, because there's no real reason for that. So now we're going to come over here to this data center, assuming that I actually remember how this works. We come here and we can change what each of these things is actually used for. So this local, I'm not going to use for that. I'm not going to use that for snippets either. We'll hit OK. This local LVM, which it created for us, I don't know how big it is. I think it's like 100 and something gigabytes. This is going to contain nothing, because I guess that's not how that works, which is really weird. This, on the other hand, we're going to use to contain disk images, not ISOs, not container templates, but disk images and containers. And maybe we'll put snippets on there too. I don't actually know what those are. So that should be good to go. And that's really about it for configuring this. Now all I need to really do is add virtual machines to it. And how I'm going to do that, I don't really know. I'm going to have to figure out a way to transfer everything over from the old, the other host to this one. But I think I'm going to just do that off camera. So things still need to be done. Obviously, I need to transfer things to this. I need to replace the clock battery. And then, of course, I need to put it into a more permanent place. But I think for now, I'm going to conclude the video with that. So, thanks for watching this basic setup of a Proxmox virtualization host. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them below.